Excuse me? Did you just ask what was BGK Network for? I'm glad that you asked. Let me get the number up because I know you're going to call. So, BGK was founded by Michael. What happened to the number? The number's at the top of the screen now. But anyway, get the number. As I was saying, BGK Network was founded by... It's at the bottom of the screen. Really? Really? Okay. I'm sorry for calling you Michael. Apostle, just put me back where I can talk. Just put me back, please. Wow, some people are so sensitive, right? But seriously, what you just saw was a sample of what Apostle Michael Dulaney and Evangelist Tiffany can do through virtual ministry with BGK Network. They founded BGK to help people like you and myself to put the gospel out around the world. It's a great opportunity. I do encourage you to call the number. It's more affordable than you think. Give them a call. I did.
BGK 24/7 Online Christian TV Network. Making what was once impossible, possible.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of In View with Sam and Donardo. My name is Sam Wajirkuma. My esteemed co-host, Dr. Donardo Ramos, is unable to join us today. He got held up, and so it's just going to be me. But I am hoping that we will have a wonderful time talking about human trafficking in the modeling and acting industry. Now, this is an industry that's been fraught with quite a lot of challenges over the years when it comes to trafficking. But those sort of Hollywood acting scandals are not the ones that I'm talking about, folks. I'm talking about stuff much, much closer to home with modeling and acting. I'm talking about, have you ever seen a Craigslist ad, or those signs on the street corners, or those ads online with the pop-ups that offer you a career in acting or modeling? The ones that promise to provide you with headshots and all these other wonderful things to give you a lifelong career in something that's been your dream. Unfortunately, most of these are catfishing ads. And what is catfishing? It's when somebody pretends to be someone they're not to lure you into doing something. And a lot of times, these acting and modeling jobs are exactly that. And often they're the gateway to trafficking. And that gateway is a scary, scary place today because there are so many, and they pop up even more in the build up to major sporting events. So, we are in March Madness right now. And, unfortunately, all sporting events have just a little bit of an uptick in human trafficking. And the reason for this is not the events themselves, but in fact, the people who are visiting these events. And a lot of the traffickers will offer modeling for the, event photographs, or being on the cheerleading team, or coming to be a photographer, all the other models. All of these sorts of scams are out there. And a lot of times the businesses are 100% legitimate. In fact, we're going to play you a little ABC News clip here in a minute, in which this young lady was promised to be a plus-size model for this gentleman's legitimate blue jeans company. And it's a shocking story, but one that is not unusual.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Now to a network of nonprofits coming together to combat human trafficking. The focus, helping victims sold for sex away from the Super Bowl spotlight. Tonight, I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern brings us an exclusive look inside a rescue from last year's Super Bowl that brought a rescue team from Miami to a Tampa hotel.
The activity that you see coming into the city, they're not all there to watch the game.
Last year, Miami was the city at the center of an international spotlight, Super Bowl 54.
That is one of the things that I think the general public misses. The bus stations, the airports are full of young girls coming in that are just there to work.
Women, children, sold for sex. Big events, an opportunity for big money. It's what brought Debbie Lassiter, co-founder of a nonprofit that works with human trafficking survivors, from Milwaukee to South Florida, partnering with fellow nonprofit Rahab's Daughters.
And we are responding to internet messages from women or phone calls into one of the call centers saying, hey, I would like to get out or I need some help.
Lassiter told us about the call she took from Tampa. A young woman, she said, temporarily separated from her alleged trafficker.
She did call back and say, I'm in trouble and I need to get out of here.
Lassiter made the 4-hour drive from Miami to Tampa on Super Bowl Sunday, her mind racing with each mile.
Is he going to send somebody after her? Is the hotel going to help us when we get there? We got to get to her. We got to get to her.
The victim, who is not identified in court records, was at the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel near the airport.
While we were on the phone talking to her, she hung up and she called back and said, he just called and said he'll be back in 15 minutes. And she was actually hysterical.
That's when both Lassiter and the DoubleTree tell us hotel staff jumped into action.
I told her, go down to the front desk. I had the front desk on the other end, and I said, there's a girl, she's wearing this, she looks like this, she's coming down there to you, and you need to put her in a place where no one can see her. The front desk person at the hotel took her into a back room. They're literally passed each other like ships in the night, and she got in that back room. He was looking for her. He was calling the room. Prayerfully, the police arrived before he was able to leave.
This is the part of the story you may have heard.
All new at 6, Tampa police arrested this man for human trafficking.
Stacey Charles Glover of Broward County arrested. According to police, Glover paid for the victim to fly from Nebraska to Florida. Her belief, she was flying to Florida to become a plus-size model.
This situation turned on a dime.
This is Kevin McNiff, the detective on the case.
She was very brave, eager to tell her story and provide any necessary information to bring him to justice.
The police report goes on to say once at the hotel, the suspect gave the victim a set of printed out instructions for dealing with clients and how to receive money from them, ending with the line, "You are paid to be an actress and perform," and using an expletive said, "Be the best." The monetary goal for the week was $1,000. Police say Glover created a website and posted photos of the victim in lingerie. According to police, the victim did not engage in sexual activity, but led Glover to believe she did. She would lie and say she had a few clients and pay Glover with her own personal money she brought for the trip to Florida.
What stood out to you about this case?
And the fact that she was brave enough to come forward.
Glover posted a $50,000 bond and was released from jail 2 days later. His plea, not guilty. Tampa defense attorney Anthony Rickman represents Glover.
I think ultimately, once this case pans out and all the evidence is learned, that it'll be shown that Stacey Glover is not involved in human trafficking, that this is not a case of sex trafficking or human trafficking.
A year later, the case remains open with the state attorney's office.
You have victim advocacy groups, you have detectives, you have federal agencies. I mean, you have a lot of resources working together to all make sure that the victims are rescued and that the traffickers are brought to justice.
The joy of being able to put this girl on a plane and send her back home to safety was great for all of us. That one rescue, even if it was just one, okay, it's that important.
And that is why Lassiter is here in Tampa this year for the big game. Volunteers and nonprofits coming together to help those in need. To learn how you can spot the potential signs of human trafficking and who to call for help, we've included a list of resources on our website, abcactionnews.com. I'm I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern, taking action for you.
See, folks, one of the things that you'll see from that video is that the young lady thought she was coming to be a model. She checked out the organization and found it to be real. But the mistake that was made here was that she came out by herself. And so if you have, family, friends, nieces, nephews who are headed off to work for the first time, please go with them, right? Because avoiding human trafficking situations has a lot to do with us being part of a community that takes care of our own, right? And so if you know of somebody who has to head off to do something and you're in a position to be able to accompany them because they don't have anyone else who can, then please do, right? Because this could prevent a trafficking case from happening. The unfortunate situation of the Stacy Glover case is that, he really received a slap on the wrist, even though, law enforcement tried very hard to make that work. And this is one of the challenges that we face with these sorts of cases, is that they're very hard to prove, and oftentimes there's a legitimate ad and a legitimate, photography or modeling job or whatever, and then there's all this other stuff going on in the background. And so it's super important that we investigate this for our families before our loved ones take up these sorts of roles. If your, daughter or son is interested in a career in modeling or acting, or if you are, I, certainly would recommend that you very carefully consider which organizations you're going to partner with to make sure that your auditions are safe and your children are safe, and that it's a regulated situation. Now, obviously, not every modeling job is wrong. Not every, acting job is wrong. But making sure that you've got the right agent representing you is important, because you hear about people who just take the leap and move, to LA or California or New York or whatever, just to try to land a role in these sorts of industries, which are certainly very difficult to break into and have a history of exploitation. But we can help to avoid these sorts of things from happening by, number one, checking the ads in our local area and immediately reporting to police if there seems to be any suspiciousness, or reporting it to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. So if you see a bunch of signs popping up for actors and models in your area, check it out, but report it to the Human Trafficking Hotline so that, we can all check it out too. Making sure that if you're headed out to try to get a career of this nature, that you have taken the time to make sure that you're financially secure in some way before you go, right? And that you have a safety plan in place. So either an app like Life 360 or something similar to that, in which your family can track where you are, so that you have a safety mechanism should you go missing or something happen. People are able to see where you are, or at least the last place that you were with your phone, to give a point to begin from, right? And it's super important to have a backup support plan. So, you are not in a position that you are vulnerable financially in order to have to fall for some of these different techniques that groomers are super, super advanced in helping, right? And that will give you choices and chances to find safety. And of course, part of our traffic end zone training is to modeling agencies and acting agencies to help them understand human trafficking and to provide them with certification that they in fact are a traffic end zone, so that you guys are able to safely know that they have been educated, that they understand and do not condone human trafficking of any sort, whether that's sex trafficking or labor trafficking, in the workplace. And we, as the community, need to stand up and support these sorts of initiatives, because without them, it's nearly impossible for us to continue, right? And this is not a new recruitment tactic for traffickers. This is actually a very old tactic, but nonetheless, it is brought new by the advancement in technology. Because remember, folks, these wonderful smartphones that we're carrying around are really just little computers. And from these little computers, we are able to be infinitely more available and infinitely more responsive to things before we've really had the chance to percolate on them and allow them to be investigated. So it's really important that, rash decisions aren't made. If the modeling agency says, I'll see you tomorrow, the answer might not be yes. We've got to check it out before we say yes to make sure for the safety. And if it's not verifiable, this should be a red flag in and of itself that we would want you guys to consider, and to actually take the time to get the right information before you head off, right? Because I can't even describe the sheer number of these cases that we have worked on in the last 7 years that Rahab's has been around. And it is one of those situations that is completely preventable with community education. So telling these stories to your friends and family and their, friends and family, and multiplying those efforts can go a really long way in helping to make sure that we're amplifying this message, because nothing will stop if you, the community, don't stand up and help stop it. And this is modern day slavery, folks. And we do not want to participate in that, but instead to provide other options for people who might be caught in this. One of the most typical modeling type scams we see is also the lure of modeling that ends up being an adult entertainment porn movie. And again, this is not an atypical situation. And so, if you know of somebody who's debating what do they do now, the answer is please don't, because it's definitely a gateway to trafficking. And, there's a promise and an allure of a lifestyle and money that is just not healthy. And the challenge is that this kind of modeling and acting scams tend to be part of the CEO traffickers, sort of book of tricks that they tend to deploy the most, because they make the potential victims feel like that modeling career, that porn movie that they're doing, whatever, is actually just going to help them get to the next level. So it's not a big deal, right? And that's the way that it's positioned. But the problem is it's a gateway. And that gateway goes south super fast, because the moment that those lingerie pictures are out there, sextortion begins, right? And the threats are very powerful in this day and age when everything lives online. And people are, deathly afraid of their families, their other loved ones, their boyfriends finding these things. So it makes them very, very susceptible to blackmail being a real possibility. And that kind of sextortion is not only being seen in human trafficking, it's actually being seen in bullying quite a lot as well. And as somebody who was bullied, and it was the gateway to my being trafficked, I definitely never want other people to be bullied. And this is definitely one of the ways that that can occur, because our modeling folks are picturing themselves on the cover of, Esquire, or on the cover of People, or whatever it is that they've been promised. But then most often, that is not even near what is available to them, if a real job is in fact available to them upon arrival, right? And so this is one of those things that um, even auditions are held, and a lot of times, legitimate auditions are held, but you may then be offered the part only if you will sleep with the producer or sleep with the director, or those sorts of things, or do extra work behind the scenes or in the cafeteria or as a light hand or whatever. And these are all still forms of trafficking. So how can you, the community, help at this point? Number one, outreach, guys. We head out on outreach all the time, and our call centers do outreach at least once a month in Illinois, Indiana, and Florida. Join them, because these teams are scouring the internet for these sorts of ads. They're scouring the community boards for these sorts of ads and helping to investigate the reality of whether they're real or not, and then passing that information on, and ideally getting them removed from the websites or buildings or wherever these ads are posted. And that is something that you can most definitely do from behind the scenes. So if you want to help more, for sure, doing that is one of the key ways that you can. And we see that modeling and acting, as wonderful as an industry as it is, and definitely do want to see less of this type of thing happen. So if you are working in the modeling industry, we definitely do want to see you, and see you join us to help make this work. Um, Also, if you would like to help Rahab's Daughters across all of the different services that we offer, please visit our website, www.rahabsdaughters.org. We are in need of volunteers all the time to assist us with a variety of things that we do across our chapters. And if you stay tuned here to your favorite internet broadcast platform, the BGK Network, you can learn more about what we do and how we do it, such that you can learn to spot these ads and immediately report them. So if you'd like to take training on that, please visit our website and sign up to volunteer, and or you can sign up for one of the upcoming events or trainings that are taking place. The first training we recommend is Human Trafficking 101, which runs every week over Zoom, and we definitely would want to see you do more of those. And just listening in here today helps in the fight against human trafficking, because the more education that you have, the more you can educate your communities. If you would like a community educator to come out and talk about these things in your community, if you own a modeling or acting agency and you would like information about how to make it safer, or if you're a budding actor or model who would like information about how to keep yourself safer, please fill out the Contact Us forms on our website, www.rahabsdaughters.org, and we will be able to provide you with additional training that's specific to your situation. If you're somebody who has been used and abused as a result of one of these ad type of situations, we do definitely have resources available to help you. So, definitely let us know, because we want to help you. We're here to spread knowledge and give you help. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.